you.
Viva Frei kindly joins us again from Canada this afternoon. Amongst other things, we'll talk about Gavin Newsom, who has made things so wonderful in the great state of California. Things are just going so well here. We want to make sure the rest of the country gets to participate in this glory. Also at the top of the hour, Adam Carolla will join us. Of course, Adam and I have been working together for, since 1996. Which is mind-boggling. We still have a podcast together, Adam and Dr. Drew Show, if you ever want to listen to that. But he'll be in there to talk about his encounter with Gavin Newsom. He's been sort of concerned about Gavin Newsom for many, many years, and I think Viva saw one of his older interviews, and I will get the new interview for all of you to see in a few minutes, so be sure to stay with us. A lot to talk about, a lot going on in France, a lot going on in Canada, many things to discuss. Stay with us. Pay attention here. We'll be right back.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Of course, I'm a fan of the healthy aging supplement True Niagen. I've been taking it almost for a decade myself. This supplement boosts NAD, which your cells need to survive properly metabolically, and it goes down as we age. It does so with a nutrient called nicotinamide riboside, or NR, specifically patented form of NR called Niagen. It's the most efficient and trusted NAD booster. NAD can also play a role in reproductive health. Boosting NAD is recommended with prenatal vitamins for women over 30 looking to start a family. Here's Dr. Amy, also known as the Egg Whisperer, a highly influential specialist in this area.
That was when I said, this is amazing. I need every single person going through fertility to take it. I not only take it myself, my patients have shared stories. They took it and then they got pregnant naturally. And that's really my goal, is I want people to empower themselves with the tools so that they can get pregnant without my help.
True Niagen is an amazing NAD booster. You're going to want to add it to your reproductive health arsenal. And of course, it's in our family of Dr. Drew sponsors. Go to drdrew.com/True Niagen for 20% off your order. That is drdrew.com/True Niagen. Enter Dr. Drew at checkout for 20% off. Yes, I'm a huge Niagen fan, True Niagen. I've increased my dose to about 900 milligrams now. But what Dr. Amy taught me was very, very interesting about its effect on fertility. So check that out. I want to bring a new supporter in here, and here is every week the users of Upside. They're earning over $1 million cash back. The free Upside app, UPSID, there's a QR code for it. The free Upside app gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas, groceries, dining in over 100,000 places, and yes, it's real cash back. No confusing rewards, points, or credits. Just money you can transfer straight to your bank account. Users can earn up to 3 times more cash back with Upside than any other product, including loyalty programs and credit card rewards. All you do is claim an offer on Upside for whatever you're buying. Pay as usual with a credit or debit card. Follow the steps in the app and get paid. Top Upside users are making as much as $300 a month. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside and use code Dr. Drew, DRDRW, to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon of gas on your first tank of gas. I have to do this. Or visit drdrew.com/upside to claim this offer. Again, drdrew.com/UPSIDE, promo code DRDRW, no dot. And speaking of Newsom, God, we need help here in California with the gas prices, so I will avail myself of that. Great Viva Frei kindly joins us again. He's up in Canada with his family right now, which is from whence he hearkens. Viva and Barnes, of course, is his podcast. He really needs no introduction on this show, but let me see if I can give you a few, such as following Viva on the Viva Frei, Frei, and vivafry.com, Viva, V-I-V-A, vivabarnes.locals.com, and let's see if anywhere else. And of course, Viva Fry on Rumble and Locals, and the legal podcast, Viva and Barnes Live. Welcome, Viva Fry.
Dr. Drew, thank you
Welcome
very
back,
much.
my friend.
So I'm back in Canada. Gas up here, at least in Quebec, is $1.76 Canadian a liter. So you multiply that by 4, take off 25%. We're like at $5.5, $6 US a gallon. And with the Bronco, we're feeling the pain, but it's
well, just so you feel better, it's closer to $6 here in California, closer than that. So, good times.
It's so obscene. No, it's obscene, and I watch people, they're spending more on essential items like gas and the basics, not making any more in Canada, paying taxes up the wazoo. I come back here and I get not bitter, but I get very cynical because it's a beautiful country. The air is fresh. The nature is beautiful. You occasionally have to scan a QR code when you want to go hiking in the mountains, but government can ruin everything, even the most beautiful landscape on earth.
Well, I'm here in California to second that. This is one of the greatest regions in the world to live, and yet they've made it absolutely almost unlivable. If they try lockdowns again, I will get in my car and drive away. That's it. I can't do it. And certainly in Canada, that's a real possibility. So I was up there. I was up in British Columbia. Have we talked about this, you and I?
Possibly, but remind me because I think I'll have something to say about it.
So I did I participated in this We Unify campaign, which was an attempt to sort of address some of the excesses of the Canadian government. And it was Jay Bhattacharya and Peter McCullough and I, and there was a bunch of heavy hitters up there sort of really trying to redress what had happened, the excesses of government overreach. And one of the things I'm going to show you in a few minutes is Adam Carolla's interaction with Gavin Newsom, who takes the position, well, we didn't know. We just didn't know. People were afraid. We didn't know. It's like, really? You didn't know? So you jumped immediately to a totalitarian impulse of destroying people systematically from on high? That's your impulse when you don't know? That's the thing that is so disgusting about what we have been through, and so frankly, so scary. So let me ask you my first question, and then I'll tell you what I observed up there. Are people pushing back on the Canadian government? Is there any movement in a different direction?
It's terrible because it doesn't feel like there is at all. It's like people just want to not even forgive. They just want to forget. And I think it's because everybody feels so fundamentally humiliated as to how stupid and crazy they got, both with themselves, their neighbors, their kids, and their friends and their families. Nobody talks about it. It's like there wasn't a time 2 years ago where they saran wrapped off Christmas cards and birthday cards at the pharmacies because those were non-essential items in a store that was essential and had to stay open. People have forgotten about the 5.5 months of curfew in Quebec in, 2021, and then another month and a half in 2022. So not only is there no pushback, there was a bit of a pushback with the Ottawa truckers' protests, and then Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act and violently suppressed the most peaceful protest ever. And then when there was an investigation, a commission hearing into that, his invocation was ratified. And so, bottom line, everyone wants to just move on, forget about it, and go back to living in a country where the amazing thing, Canadians, I find, are more obsessed and repulsed by American politics than by Canadian politics. And I think it's just ultimate distracting. Yeah, I hear people talking about Trump. I'm like, in Canada, we're being governed by an absolute tyrant in Canada, taxed into poverty. 1 in 4 Canadian children have food issues, food concerns. And Canadians are sitting here saying it's going to be the end of the world if Trump gets reelected in America. It's the ultimate distraction from their own sorrow here. Things are bad, and I hope they get better soon.
Yeah, it is interesting. I would imagine, well, I know Canadians that are fearful that if they step out of line, i.e., express concerns about government overreach or criticize the leadership, that somehow their banking will get frozen, which to me is the ultimate tyranny.
For those who don't know, during the trucker protest, when they invoked the Emergencies Act, which is the nuclear bomb of legislation, when no existing legislation can provide the tools to quell a national crisis, they invoked the Emergencies Act, and that petty tyrant dictator, Chrystia Freeland, who's shipped more Canadian tax dollars off to her homeland, Ukraine, than to fend for the Canadian children who are going hungry. They called in the military, but didn't call it the military. And Chrystia Freeland authorized the banks to freeze the bank accounts of people who participated in, potentially donated to the convoy, and freeze their bank accounts with no legal due process while immunizing the banks in doing so. I mean, it's like they immunize the banks to freeze bank accounts. They immunize or they give hold harmless clauses to pharma companies while experimenting on their own human population. It is fascism by definition. And that's it. Hey, well, it came and it went. And now let's look forward to, fearing what happens if Donald Trump gets elected in America in 2024.
So I want to try a theory out on you. So the French politics has fascinated me, and I fell in a rabbit hole a couple years ago about the French Revolution. I've found some favorite French historians. I've been listening to French lectures in French, and I noticed about 18 months ago the French were reconsidering what it means to be French, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a thing soon. There's going to be this is somehow a reaction to the immigration thing, and something's going to happen, and now it's happening. So I identified it early. I don't think they knew it. I could just tell they were sort of opening the history books and going, God, this guy Napoleon, it's part of who we are, and maybe it wasn't all bad. The things like that, they're really reconsidering things. But here's a theory I have. I couldn't understand how a population of well-educated people followed disgusting maniacs like Mirabeau or Robespierre, and how the Committee for Public Safety, sound familiar, was able to carry out the terror. And I was acutely aware, I read Rousseau's Confessions, and now when I hear about Mirabeau and Robespierre's history, there was an authoritarian stretch there for about 100 years where French fathers had absolute authority over their kids, and they were brutal. They were really physically abusive. And I thought, oh, well, that's where this comes from. Because whenever the father is a problem, the child will see society as victimizing them, because the dad kind of represents society to a child. This is an old theory. We can argue about whether it's true or not, but certainly it seemed to be true back in 1790 France. What is going on now, do you think? What it seems like a lot of what they're fighting against are windmills. They're creating things to fight against. And is that true, do you think? And do you have a theory as to why that is? Because I do.
Now, hold on. You mean the government chasing the windmills, or the people?
No, I think the people. I mean, the topics that people are apoplectic about are sort of invented. You know what I mean? Because things are not that bad, but they become apoplectic about certain things. And it's like, okay, so let's pay attention to this, but apoplexia?
My theory is, I don't know if you know who, Parkinson is. Not the guy who discovered or was named Parkinson after the disease. Parkinson's, the economist, had a theory called Parkinson's law of mundanity, or Parkinson's law of triviality. The time it takes to accomplish a task will expand to fit the time you have to accomplish that task. So if you have all morning to mail an envelope, it'll take all morning to mail an envelope.
There's another who said that? Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball said that when she was running a studio and starring in a show. She goes, you know what? The more you do, the more you'll do, which is the same way of saying that.
Well, absolutely. And then the other one is Parkinson's law of it's either triviality or mundanity, I forget which, but you get a bunch of people around at a building, in an office, talking about, complex issues to resolve as far as shareholder value, et cetera, et cetera. The more complex the issue, the less everyone's going to have an opinion, because it takes more knowledge, more insight, more understanding to have one. Ask them where to place the water cooler. You can fight about that for 45 minutes to an hour. So my theory would be, they go apoplectic over the things that they have control over, which happen to be the most trivial things, and ignore the most serious problems because they are powerless or don't have sufficient understanding to resolve those broader, bigger problems. And I think that materializes in politics, where you'll go crazy over the small, stupid things, because those are the things you can control, and those are the things that are easy to understand and easy to have an opinion on, but not the complicated stuff.
It's also a way to keep us distracted by the leaders. But I was worried that there's something about fathers going on now. And in this country, we have an awful lot of absent fathers, an awful lot of divorce, an awful lot of step parenting. And I don't know. I don't think that's going on so much in Canada, but I worry about that. So we went up to British Columbia. As you said, it's just vast. It's magnificent. The natural resources are just beyond. and the people could not be more lovely and nice. But just with something I observed, just underneath the surface is a sort of a festering aggression. Do you agree with me?
It is, it's a bizarre thing. There was an expression that I've appreciated as an adult that, what is it? In the heart of every bleeding heart liberal is an aspiring tyrant, something along those lines. It is, it's politeness for the sake of politeness. And then the second you defy that politeness, then the anger somehow becomes justified because you're not being polite and you're not going along to get along. And I think it's a little bit different in the countryside. I think people out in the country generally are, I say happier, more loving, more forgiving, and more tolerant, live and let live. You get into the city. Yeah. I don't know if you were in Vancouver, but you get into like the Vancouver.
I was in Vancouver and Victoria. And Victoria was way out there.
Drew, Victoria is like Seattle on steroids. Like in Victoria, they were literally flying the period flag in the City Hall of Victoria, the female menstrual flag for menstrual equity.
Nice.
The thing about Canada is
good form.
It's bizarre. Canadians pride themselves on being polite, and to some extent, people take politeness to be. Yes, but then there's politeness, subservience, and that quickly turns to rage when people are not subservient. And it's no longer polite when you say, I'm not doing what the government tells me to do. And then like, well, that's not polite. It's good to be subservient. It's good to be, it's good to do what you're told. And the second you don't want to do it, quite literally, they say, well, that's the American way. That's a very American, selfish, Wild West attitude. I'm like, there's no virtue in being cowardice or being subservient to the government. That is a vice. That is a flaw. But we've been conditioned and we have our history. We have our cultural history. And to some extent, it's good. It gives us the stereotype of being polite Canadians, following the rules, listening to Big Brother government, but also phoning in when you see people in the park that are too close together or, kids not social distancing. So it is a double-edged sword that cuts both ways sometimes.
Right. I have an aversion to sublimated aggression. I just think it's a very dangerous thing. As you said, it causes people to do things in a crisis that you saw, that we saw in Germany during the 1930s. And that's the kind of stuff people do when they can't express their aggression more directly. All right, let's talk about Gavin Newsom for a second. I'm going to ask you a simple question that we put out on our promo for this show. Would Gavin Newsom be better or worse than a two-term Joe Biden-Harris ticket?
The funny thing is this, like I predicted and I literally put money on Joe Biden not being the nominee. Now I have since cashed out because I don't think it's going to get less likely than he was trading at like it was 71 cents on the dollar that he would not be the presidential nominee for the Democrats. I think swapping him out for anybody who can complete a sentence would be better than what we have right now. People are saying, well, nobody's more popular than Joe, or at least Joe is more popular than everyone else in the field. Everyone hates Gavin. Everyone hates Kamala. Everyone hates Gretchen Whitmer. And everyone sure as hell hates Hillary Clinton. But I think everyone knows that Biden is mentally incapable. And anybody else would literally do better than Joe Biden. Gavin Newsom, I at one point had my prediction on him because I thought they were like even making him look like Joe Biden. They were making him act like Joe Biden. He was running around gallivanting with President Xi. He's engaging in interstate debate with Ron DeSantis. Like, he's acting like the role already. But no, I think he's not just incompetent. He's thoroughly negative, and as has been his impact on California. But he's a smooth reptilian politician who will literally lie without dropping a sweat. He's a good candidate to fill in. So who the hell knows what's going to happen? But we're not yet done with the meltdown. There's going to be some wild infighting among the Democrats sooner than later.
Well, not only that, they've really seemed like they have decided they're going to go all the way with President Biden. And they can't pass over Harris, so if something happens to him, it's going to be her. And if he's severely Parkinsonian, we can all see that. That's just simply observable. And he has seemingly deteriorated a bit in the last 6 months or so. So what causes that? There's a number of different medical conditions that can cause things like that. I don't know him. I'm not saying this is what he has, but things like vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's disease. The problem is when things accelerate, they tend to continue to accelerate, which means that the next 3 months or so, certainly the next 6 months, things could get very bad. Do you think they will continue to gloss over and gaslight the entire world as they are doing right at the present moment?
Well, the gaslighting was for the last 2 years when they were saying there's nothing wrong with Joe. When Joe Scarborough gets on and says he's cogent, I've never known him to be better or sharper. That was the gaslighting. Right now, it's the damage control because everybody knows it. And so you have the media turning on Joe right now. And the only question is, they knew how bad he was, and yet they were promoting this debate. Oh, he's going to wipe the floor with Donald Trump. And then, the week of the debate, one bad debate doesn't define a presidency. And then the week later, they're literally saying, I'll vote for a demented Joe in a chair over Trump. So
I think that's what they're going for.
Well, I mean, it's almost like that's been the sensitizing. Like, okay, you have no choice. Yeah. There's some legalities as to how you can't even just swap someone else in for him. But the thing is this, I don't want to put out bad juju in the universe. He's 81. He's beyond the lifespan of ordinary healthy adults, and he's quite clearly demented. I mean, every Matlock could be his last, to quote The Simpsons. So he could physically not be there. And then what, you think people are going to be happy that Kamala's going to take the reins? I mean, she's more detested than anybody. She's the worst candidate of them all. If it happens that Biden says, I'm stepping down, Kamala take over, or he physically, ceases to be there, or 25th, and it's not just going to go smoothly to Kamala. I'm telling you, Hillary Clinton is going to start fighting. There's a fly in here, and I'm going to kill that thing when I get it in my sights. I had a Mike Pence moment earlier when it landed on my nose, but there's going to be disaster.
Oh, that's so funny.
There's going to be disastrous infighting.
So what are the betting markets telling us?
Oh my goodness!
You said you're watching them. Yeah.
I'm watching them compulsively, unhealthily compulsively. But Kamala Harris was more likely to be the Democrat nominee than Joe Biden today. She overtook him at one point by a long shot. Gavin Newsom's fallen off. Hillary Clinton's at the bottom end. But if they all start fighting and Biden ceases to be the candidate, well, my goodness, all of their odds are going to go up exponentially, and there's going to be really, really nasty infighting. I don't think Hillary's done with wanting to be president. I don't think Michelle Obama wants to be president, but there might be some deep state pressure for her to accept it, make her an offer that she can't refuse type thing. So between Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, Gretchen Whitmer, Kamala Harris, there will be some fighting because they all want that precious, precious ring.
Wow. And then in the meantime, we have some strange stories old stories being rehashed, I guess. Trump Epstein and RFK Jr., guess what? Drug addict, did drug addict things when he was a drug addict. Shocking. I can't believe it. What do you make of all that?
Well, it's funny. Similar thing happened with Russell Brand. When you write, not a tell-all novel, but when you write sort of a diary, when you, what's the word? When you ask for forgiveness in Russell Brand's recovery book, you ask for forgiveness and you make amends with the world. And to the extent the political powers that be like you or love you, it becomes a harrowing, transformational story. When they decide they don't like you, they then go right back to that book and pull up every story you told in there to drudge up everything from your past and go after people. RFK Jr. was a sweetheart, much like Trump, until he decided to run. And now they're going to go drudge up everything that he did as a younger person. And I have no doubt some of it's going to be pretty nasty. But what's amazing is they discredit themselves by lying. I don't know who that Matt Core, there's some Democrat operative who posted the picture of RFK with what was said to be a grilled dog. And I'm like, who does that? No, I mean, I know there's a Canadian politician who snuck her way into an illegal cockfight and ate dog in Indonesia back in the late, I think, 2000s, whatever. But it wasn't a dog. And so they start already astroturfing with fake news so that some idiot is going to believe that that's a picture of a dog. And even when you're told it's not a dog, you're going to say, oh, well, how do you know? There was a vet who did a forensic analysis of the picture and said there's a floating rib and it's a dog. But they discredit themselves by lying about certain things so that no one's going to believe the other stuff. But my goodness, no, the hit piece machine is out in full force. And RFK Jr., He was sort of beloved until he went anti-vax or vaccine critical. And then he became public enemy number one when he decided to run. And they're going to try to destroy him with truth and with lies.
And yet it goes the other way with the president, where it's all gaslighting. I saw Fauci today insisting that, I don't know what you're talking about. He looks fine. Maybe some medication side effects. He's Parkinsonian. That is simply what you're observing. That is categorically, without exception, that's what the slow motor, the mask-like faces, the festinating gait. It's called a mask facies. Mask-like faces, it's called, and the festinating gait. I mean, you can, like I keep telling people, in medical school, when they show us neurological illnesses, they show us videos of people manifesting. If we're studying Parkinson's, the video is precisely what we see in the president. Now, is he Parkinsonian because he has Parkinson's disease, because he's taken some medication that caused Parkinson's? Is he got a vascular dementia? Does he have Lewy body dementia? I have no idea. But he has one of those things, for sure, because those are the things that cause what we're looking at. Now, who's going to, I don't know if we're going to learn. Well, I guess the natural history, each of those four things have a different natural history. And if it's Lewy body, which is the one that I worry about, it's going to be relatively quick. Things are going to get really bad.
Drew,
Robin Williams had that. Go ahead.
Not to get too anti-vax conspiracy theorist, is Lewy body not one of the adverse events that's been reported with being over-vaxxed or over-jabbed?
I would say not. I'm sure people are trying to make all kinds of correlations. I wouldn't. That's getting over the skis. I would stay as close to the facts as you can.
It's irrelevant for the purposes of this issue because he's been presented for pre-COVID. No, I just wondering because I've known some other closer acquaintances. But forget that it's not just the gaslighting on his health. They when was the Steele dossier? 2016. They accused Trump of pissing on hookers in a Moscow hotel when it was Hunter Biden doing that. Now they're recycling this story that had already been broken and sort of already discredited of allegations of Trump and Epstein Island, and they're recycling these at the same time. They're recycling lies about RFK Jr., about eating dog, all the while ignoring Joe Biden and his Tara Reid credible, according to Lisa Bloom, the daughter of Gloria Allred, admitted and known sexual abuse of Tara Reid. His now confirmed stories from Ashley Biden's diary of his inappropriate conduct with her when she was a kid. His crackhead criminal son now, who's been convicted and now for somehow has a seat at the table about offering advice to Joe Biden, whether or not he stays in the race.
Let me just tell you, to sort of finish this, I will say that I got to take a break in a second, and when we get back, I'm going to show you the video of Adam with Gavin Newsom. But what's happening here is what's happening in families all over this country. All of us that deal with elderly patients are very familiar with this phenomenon, which is, as people age, particularly with certain personality styles, but as they age and they get neurological conditions, they get something called anosognosia. Drug addicts get this, bipolars get it, schizophrenic get it, but so do demented patients get it. They lack the insight into what's happening to them. The condition makes it impossible for them to see what's happening. So the family becomes alarmed. This is because people are living too long or living so long and then working well into these advanced years. So this is happening a lot. And so the family comes in and goes, we got to get the car keys away from him. He's going to kill somebody. He's going to kill himself. Got to get the car keys, and he shouldn't be working. He's going to fall. He's going to break his hip. And this happens. It takes a long time to get somebody into shape when they're in this kind of condition. You have to invoke all sorts of sometimes legal maneuvers. Sometimes it's interventions of type. And more often than not, they do fall and break a hip, or they do hurt somebody with their vehicle while you're trying to get this under control. And it happens a lot, and this is what's happening in the Biden family. And the family has varying degrees of denial too. Like they don't want to admit that things are as bad as they are, or they can't see it much the way the patient can't see it. So this is not an unusual thing. It's just so crazy that it's happening in the White House. We're going to take a break. Viva Barnes.locals.com. Also, Viva Frei on X. vivafrei.com. Where else do you want people to see the Legal Pod, Viva and Barnes live? Where should they go for that mostly? YouTube? Rumble?
The best place is Locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. But if you put Viva Frei in any search engine and you just click on news, you'll find me easily.
All right. When we get back, more Viva Frei. Adam Carolla joins us in about 20 minutes or so. And when we get back, first thing I want to do is show the video to Viva of Adam's encounter with, and I'll set it up once we get back, with Governor Newsom live on television. Be right back. Joint and muscle pains are exhausting and frustrating, but I've got a over-the-counter medication I want to introduce you to that provides great relief using the power of, check it out, chili peppers. Capsidin is made with a proprietary formula that contains no non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, no opioids, no anesthetic or steroid, nothing, no chance for addiction, no side effects, no chance it's going to interact with other medication you might be taking. Capsidin contains capsaicin, which is the substance in chili peppers that burns your tongue. That gives you that burny feeling. And of course, I've recommended capsaicin creams to patients over the years, but other capsaicin creams burn your skin. That's what makes capsidin so unique. In clinical trials, capsidin has actually been demonstrated not to burn.
I've been using capsidin to relieve my pain in my hands and my wrist from carpal tunnel syndrome and arthritis. The results have been amazing. I use it every day during my show, and I highly recommend it.
Get the pain relief you need from various sources, even backache, sprains, bruises even. Order now at capsidin.com/Drew to get a 15% discount plus free shipping. That is CAPSADYN, capsidin.com/DREW. Many of us have not gotten over COVID. I'm not talking about the virus itself, but the response. We were flabbergasted by what the government could do to us. There is no telling what they might pull next time, and it's looking more like there will be a next time. So we all have to be what I call rationally ready. That's where the wellness company comes in. TWC is about access to physicians via telehealth, access to potentially life-saving medication. Years ago, having access to medication and telehealth might have seemed crazy, but now it seems crazy not to. Now, with claims that gain-of-function research have been done on the bird flu, I urge everyone to take control of their healthcare with the help of the wellness company. Go to drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off all their products, including the 4 medical kits, each of which has a different purpose. And we've added Tamiflu to one of them in case the bird flu does become a problem for humans. Be rationally ready. drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off.
Oh, that's brilliant. And thank you, Drew. Where's Dr. Drew? Where is he? Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew.
That's right. Rational readiness, everybody. And of course, our friends at Paleo Valley, one of the things I love about their meat sticks is they still beneath the seat in front of you when you're in an air flight. And look at this. I didn't like the entree. Play that again there.
I didn't like the entree.
I ate them.
So thankfully, I have beef sticks. So that's what I'm going to have for dinner. Better than anything they have to offer.
Truly, like really, and I was glad I had some along with me. And it's just look. Not only are they so much the meat sticks, they're packed with nutrients. They're fermented for this lovely snap when you bite into them, and they are full of protein. So speaking of offers, so here's an offer. If you've ordered from Paleo Valley before, you can take advantage of the first time offer now. If you haven't ordered before, 30 meat sticks for $36. Choose from a wide variety. Pasture-raised chicken with buffalo or teriyaki seasoning, original jalapeno, teriyaki, summer sausage beef sticks, grass-fed venison, pasture-raised pork. Listen, if you need to use a special link, and you need to use this special link to get this, we just created just for our audience, go to drdrew.com/PaleoValley30, okay? So it's drdrew.com /PaleoValley30. Check it out. You will not be sorry. We've got the bone broth. We use the tallow. We have we use all their stuff on such a regular basis.
I ate 2 today in the car. I keep
There you
it
go.
packed in the car.
We love
I was
these guys.
hungry. I forgot to eat.
So there you go.
Comes in handy. And when Drew was on the plane, he can't eat everything they serve on the plane. He's
I have
like, "Where's my beef stick?"
Yeah, I have delicate internal world as I've aged. But I really dig the venison. That's my thing. I like the beef sticks, but the venison is sort of my jam. Okay.
I got to get those teriyaki ones again.
Okay.
Those are really good.
Viva Frei is with me. Viva Barnes Law is the podcast, and vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Did I get that right? Anything Viva Barnes.
Viva
Look it up. You'll
Barnes
find
Law.
it. Yeah. All right. So this is a video of Adam on the Chris Cuomo show after the debates. Now, he had no idea that he was going to be thrown on the air at that moment with Newsom, and Newsom had no idea he was going to confront Adam. And you had seen, Viva, his 2013 interview with Adam about many different things. Tell people, describe that one to people if you don't mind, and what you saw with that one.
That one was the one that was going viral on Twitter today, and it came up a 10-year-old video where Gavin Newsom tried to, race bait during a debate and say, like in California, Latino and Black families are particularly disenfranchised, particularly economically unfortunate, or lacking in good fortune. And he said, "Oh well, why are the Asians are doing well?" And he's like, "Well, no, the Asians are they're not. Everybody's doing badly." So it's like, okay, well, if everybody's doing badly, why are you singling out the Blacks and Latinos? He's like, "Oh, because they're doing particularly worse." He says, "Well, what's it about them that they're doing particularly worse compared to Asians or East Africans?" I don't know. And it was just an amazing thing where by the end of it, Gavin Newsom's like, "All right, we're all, everybody's having problems," and he almost bashedly. No, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? I forgot the word. But he almost looked embarrassed for having tried to race bait in the first place.
Yeah, and he did something. There's more to that video because I've seen Adam's played it for me a number of times. There's more to that video where Newsom goes, "Well, the real problem for the Black and Latinos in Los Angeles is these check cashing facilities." And Adam goes, "Really? Why? Why is that a problem?" He goes, "Well, they can't get a bank." He goes, "Really? They can't get a bank? Why can't they bank? What's wrong with them? Would you tell me exactly why they can't bank? Why don't we solve that problem? What's wrong with their banking?" Well, he is such a. He is. There's nothing truthful. There's nothing honest. There's nothing substantial about really anything he says. He's just full of empty slogans and shibboleths. And he tries here again on this Chris Cuomo show. So I'm going to play this for you, and you go ahead and react. Viva hasn't seen this yet.
I have not seen it.
Adam Carolla here. Governor, why did you shut the beaches in California during COVID?
Yeah, I think we all were working on information at the time. We had no basis of deeply understanding the virus. I think they did the same thing.
So you didn't know anything, so why'd you shut the beaches?
States like Florida.
If you didn't know anything, why'd you shut the beaches?
Well, we didn't know. Yeah, because people were concerned early in the pandemic. Information was coming out as it relates to how it was transferred, the disease, and people were cautious, trying to keep people alive. And I should say this,
so
Adam,
you didn't let them go in the
health, wealth,
sunshine and get vitamin
California
D
outperformed.
and exercise, so you shut the beaches. Okay. And you arrested a guy who was paddleboarding in the bay.
On health, wealth, and...
Yeah, any
it's
science
good to see
behind
Adam,
that? Any science
we're
at
all
all behind
geniuses
shutting
in
outdoor
hindsight.
dining? Why'd you
We're all
shut down outdoor dining? Why'd you shut the beaches?
It's so bad. I mean, first of all, well, we didn't understand at the time. It's not true because there were people at the time saying you need vitamin D, you need exercise, you need to be outdoors. So that's not true. But like Adam Carolla saying, I had this fight with people at the time. If you don't know, you don't do drastic, wild things like shutting down businesses and locking people in their home. That's what you do when you know that you need to do that. They're just a bunch of idiots. What they are is a bunch of power-hungry tyrants who saw their opportunity and they seized it. And now they can say, "Oh, we didn't know." Bull crap. There were a lot of people saying things at the time that they should have been listening to, and the fact that they didn't know meant that they weren't listening to the people who they should have been listening to, which makes them the idiots. And they should Nuremberg 2.0, but I won't go there during this podcast, Drew. Sorry.
Well, let's remember they were silencing people who were dissenting. They were hurting people, hurting them for daring to take issue with their power or their pronouncements, which were egregious. And so it's for me even one thing just to go, "Oh, we tried, we went along with it, we did this," but then to crush people who want to consider, is this the right thing to do? When I was training residents, the one thing that was an inexcusable response to my question, why did you do whatever intervention you took? If your answer was, because we had to do something, I would become enraged, because that's how you harm patients. It's do no harm. And if you don't know what you're doing and you don't understand the risk reward of what you're doing, then do nothing until you have a plan, until you can understand what's going on. And at that point, well, then we'll talk about it. But just to do something because I had to do something, that is childlike, disgusting, beyond reproach. It's just, I can't even deal with it. And so, and by the way, at the time, he's talking about, we didn't know. Adam, by the way, kept going to a hamburger place in Burbank to support it. They were having outdoor dining. And because he knew there was no risk of that when everything else was locked down, he wanted to support this family that was trying to survive, trying to keep its employees employed. And guess what they did with that? Shut them down and put a fence around it. Put an iron fence around this family business that had been around for 50 years and closed it down because they didn't know.
Drew, I can't remember if it was from a documentary or a Hollywood movie about the Holocaust, and after the Allies come and liberate or free the Germans, they had signs that said, we didn't know. First of all, it's a lie. We didn't know. It's a godforsaken lie when Gavin Newsom says we didn't know. They did know. That's the problem. There were articles at the time, and I can go back to my Twitter feed, articles at the time stating that outdoor transmission was exceedingly low and that the only cases had been from intimate contact outdoors. They did know, and they pretend not to know, so they could have gotten away with the most, the biggest power grab, the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. It was a test run for I'm going to sound like a nutcase, but it was a test run for a basically global government that controls every aspect of your life and brings in a Chinese-type social credit system into the Americas. And it's not a coincidence that it was much more pronounced in certain states. And his idiotic statement, we outperformed other states, first of all, bull crap, because nobody was counting anything properly. But even if you did outperform another state that retained freedom and retained the respect of human rights by what, a few thousand? I mean, it's a big deal. You can prevent all forms of car death by taking away people's cars. So we outperformed free states, and we outperformed states that respected constitutional rights for what and at how much? And I doubt it in the first place.
Right, I doubt it actually is the case, but that is the point: is that they took the opportunity to leap to a totalitarian impulse that they had no difficulty right at the moment. By the way, I one of these days I'll get to tell you, but I spoke to some governors in the heat of all this who were calling me because I was saying, "Calm down, let's reconsider this," and they called me and said, "Look, my job as governor is not to tell people they have to wear a mask, they have to get a vaccine. That is not the oath I took. That is, I should be protecting the choice that that is the oath I took, to protect that choice that people should be having." And I said, stand up strong, please. Don't stand up to them. And all of them caved eventually. But now many of them didn't keep it as long as obviously California did. And we have an A/B test. Florida, California was an A/B test in real time, and it could have been looked at very carefully, but it wasn't. And incredible harm was done here.
And you go to the graph and they document a few thousand more cases. I don't even know how they measure it because they were never distinguishing died from versus died with. And they know number of cases, whatever. The bottom line, they knew it was bullshit. I'm sorry, I don't swear. They knew it was bullcrap because they were out dining in enclosed areas. I don't know if Adam Carolla got to Gavin Newsom's, the French, what was that place called? The French Laundry?
French Laundry.
Yeah, yes. They knew the rules were stupid, which is why they weren't following them themselves in private. But they sure as heck imposed them with an iron fist on their population.
Yes, if we get him in here, believe me, he will bring that up. Before we I hope he'll be here pretty soon. I saw you on, I love watching your feeds when you analyze the Supreme Court decisions as they come out. I think the one that got you two got you most interested, it seems like, was the immunity case and the Chevron case. Give us your greatest hits, if you don't mind.
Well, the Chevron case I'm less interested in. The one that got me was the January 6th obstruction charges and the Trump immunity. The Chevron case is very important, and I use it as the litmus test between the direction in which America is going, socially, culturally, and by zeitgeist versus Canada. And that one basically is the Chevron doctrine was showing deference to these administrative bodies to, administer, enforce, and interpret their own rules and regulations to the exclusion of the courts. And the Chevron doctrine was placing a great degree of deference on those institutions, and the courts wouldn't get involved so much. That's been overturned now. And so it is a big blow to the administrative state that the courts are not going to let these administrative bodies sort of run amok as sort of unelected government. And so, but you compare that to Canada, where you have your human rights tribunals, issuing the most insane awards of $40,000 to a transgender employee who got misgendered, and the courts say, well, those are specialty tribunals. We don't get involved unless there's really big errors of the law, in fact. So the Chevron is interesting, but the best one, obviously, is the immunity case, because it's causing not a meltdown, but rather a frothing up. The media is trying to whip, their ill-informed, low-information followers into violence. I sincerely believe it. They came out now. It's like, oh, okay, the president can assassinate his rival with impunity. And I'm like, you're all a bunch of idiots who have not read the actual decision. And I've been calling people moron more than I should on Twitter, but they're morons. They're morons or liars. The immunity case can be summarized simply as there's immunity for acts that fall within the constitutional duties of the president. There's no immunity for purely private acts that the president might carry out as president. And for anything that's in the outer orbit of presidential conduct, there is presumptive immunity, but that needs to be established on a case-by-case basis. Does that sound like you can go assassinate your political rival with immunity? No, but that's what they want to do. So that decision came out 6-3, and the majority decision is fantastic because all they do is lambaste the minority dissenting opinion by saying, look, they don't rely on the Constitution, they don't rely on law, they don't rely on any form of reasoning other than fear-mongering and the use of extreme hypotheticals that are never going to come, but they give the talking points to the media. So the immunity decision is phenomenal, but not as good as I think it should have been. I think Supreme Court should have said, unless there is impeachment and conviction, there is no criminal prosecution for a president after his term, period. As it is now, if Obama decides to execute an American citizen in Afghanistan or wherever through drone strikes with no due process, that's within the outer orbit of presidential conduct. There'll be presumptive immunity for that. So it didn't go as far as I thought it should have, but it went far. And so now they've got to go back. Go for it.
Go ahead. Finish that thought. They had to go back.
Now they're going to go back, and everyone's brains are going to melt. Because I'm going to do a video about this right after we're done. They got to go back now and look at the conviction in New York State, the Alvin Bragg, Soros-funded Alvin Bragg, because Trump was convicted all on acts that occurred when he was president. And in the majority decision, they basically criticized Jack Smith, Judge Chutkan out of D.C., the New York courts, the Georgia courts. Like, you never did any sort of analysis to see if this was a clearly constitutional act as president, a clearly personal act, or somewhere in the middle. And so now Trump was convicted on charges, all of which involve acts that he carried out as president, and they never did this test. So the judge there, Merchan, has postponed the sentencing, and he basically said, if there's any sentence at all, because they've got to go back now and see, do we toss this entire conviction, go back and reassess the acts and see what is presidential, what is purely private, and what is within that outer ambit, and then have another trial. So it's all gone to hell in a handbasket. They got their conviction in the New York case, but that might get overturned sooner than later as well.
That's very interesting. And in terms of the dissenting opinions, Sotomayor was so odd. She just kept saying immunity, immunity, immunity. I could call Team SEAL 6 in to go after one of my opponents, and it's like, if I were a law clerk in the Supreme Court's, under Justice Sotomayor, wouldn't you raise your hand and go, no, this is not a good look. Can't we do something better than this? Let's argue constitutionally.
Drew, I think it's the other way around. Her clerks draft that, and they know how she wants it to be drafted. But it's like if it were a bar exam question, it would be a fail because it's not what the case does. But it's like I've listened to them more often than most people. They are a bunch of hyperbolic, histrionic babies that throw a hissy fit when they don't get their way, and they use the most exaggerated hyperbolic rhetoric. Oh, we've now created a king. No, we haven't. Unless you think a king can get sued for purely private acts that he commits while king. It's like sometimes you say, I can understand the dissent. Sometimes you say the dissent is even better and more justified than the majority decision. Other times, it's just dumb. And they're just wrong, and they're just partisan idiots. The immunity case is one of them. And in the obstruction case, the January 6 charges, the obstruction or otherwise obstructs an official proceeding, and they use that felony against a bunch of the Jan 6ers. Amy Coney Barrett, a so-called conservative, is just wrong in her opinion. And in that case, they came to the conclusion that, you know, the interpretation that the DOJ was giving to that charge that they applied against a lot of the Jan 6ers, you know, destroyed, alters, impairs evidence for the purpose of obstructing a government proceeding or otherwise obstructs. And they interpreted the or otherwise to mean anything and everything that swallows up the first provision of law. And the majority decision came out and said, no, if that's the interpretation you give to it, your interpretation of the subsection 2 consumes subsection 1, and then the legislator drafted a subsection 1 for no reason whatsoever. That's the right answer. Amy Coney Barrett coming out and saying, well, that's how the government, Congress drafted the legislation, so we're not here to interpret that, is the wrong answer. So it's not a question of partisan. It's just a question of functioning brains and right or wrong reasoning. In the immunity case, the dissenting opinions are a bunch of partisan, histrionic babies throwing a hissy fit because they're not getting their way.
Well, I became concerned about Sotomayor when she was interviewing, I guess it was one of the censorship sort of trials. And she was like, we have hundreds of thousands of children on ventilators right now. And I thought, well, if we have 3 in the country, I'll be shocked. How does she come to believe there are hundreds of thousands of children on ventilators? That is how and people have to remember these Supreme Court justices are under the influence of the same media that influences everybody, and they can get severely adulterated. And that when she said that, I became alarmed because that's just a piece of evidence of how profoundly disconnected from reality the people can be whom we are relying to be totally rational.
Well, she probably read the New York Times article that said there were 800,000 children in hospitals, and she didn't read the updated erratum that said, oh, we were off by a factor of, I don't know, 100,000. No, but that's, look, it's not partisan. Some of the judges are just consistently wrong and predictably so. Others are wrong on and off. Amy Coney Barrett is predictably off when it comes to certain issues, and Ketanji Brown Jackson is predictably on when it comes to certain issues. On the obstruction charges, the January 6th case, Ketanji Jackson Brown, who can't define what a woman is because she's not a biologist, she can identify when a law would be weaponized against constitutional protest. And she's very much into human rights, civil rights. And she's like, no, if you give this interpretation to the obstruction charge, it's only a matter of time before they use this against everyone who protested Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings, everyone who protests trans legislation they don't like, gun legislation they don't like. She's right on certain issues, but some of them are just consistently wrong. Sotomayor is a political asset on the bench and not a good one at that.
And Caleb just threw up a poll that I think just happened in real time, Caleb. Is that correct? And it was showing that President Biden has a significant lead on some of the other potential candidates. Throw that up there again.
Strangely enough.
So Newsom, 43% supporting, preferred. Go ahead, Caleb.
This is a poll that I put up on the YouTube channel because that's the only platform we have that supports the polls right now. And this is a poll of the audience to see who they would prefer based on, like, the question is, if these are the only options, which person would you prefer for president? Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama, or Kamala Harris? And I was shocked that 43% of the results currently are saying they still want Joe Biden's second term above all the other options.
You got to remember, we have a lot of right-leaning viewers, and they might be wanting to set up the left for seeing this through. You know what I mean? Like Joe going all the way through is not going to be pretty.
But would you prefer for president, not like the nominee,
for
but
president.
Like for president?
Right.
Yeah, but I
second term.
There might be a certain element of people thinking this question was, who do you want to run? Because I think everyone thinks Joe Biden would be easier to beat. I actually honestly think Gavin Newsom would be harder to beat, one-on-one against Trump, just because he's a pure politician of the most insidious order, and that he can lie and conceal his own failings and shift and divert. So that might be how people understood that question. But the markets right now, if I go back compulsively to predictit.org, Kamala Harris is at 44 cents likelihood to be the Democrat nominee. Joe Biden's at 43 cents, and Michelle Obama is at 8 cents. Gavin Newsom at 9 cents. So it's wild.
Well, and again, that equal footing takes into account the possibility of Joe's nomination not surviving it and Kamala coming in, right?
Not sure what the rules are. If I think the rule is who has to get appointed, like at their DNC, who gets appointed. So there's going to be, it's not if he becomes unable to serve after getting the appointment. So it's only who is likely going to be appointed the nominee. But bear in mind, before the debate, it was 89 cents Joe Biden would be the nominee. Now he's at 43 cents.
It is weird to times, and I don't like the lack of ability to have truthful conversation. That's what bugs me, and that's what bugs me. That's what bugged me about COVID. That's when people were thrown into a panicked frenzy. I kept saying, let's talk about this. Slow down. Let's talk about it. Don't believe the press. Let's think about this. At the time, I was saying, by the way, listen to the CDC and listen to Dr. Fauci. Whoops, I've lost everything here, Susan. Listen to the CDC, listen to Dr. Fauci, which was the wrong thing to say. It turned out that was the one thing I said that was wrong. And I don't know, Fauci, it's so sad because he was somebody that I really admired. And during the AIDS epidemic, I thought he was such a great, useful resource. They didn't mandate what we did then. They advised. They were a source of information and research and sort of best practices. When they decided that they were going to tell you how to live and what you must do, they get completely jumped the shark. And I don't know if you noticed, we have Deborah Birx running around again now, freaking out, and she looks hysterical, screaming about the bird flu. And if we get a bird flu heading into the human population, it could really only be, the only thing I can conclude, if it happens this quickly, with people pointing at it with this kind of vigor, it would be that they had gain of function on the bird flu and caused this to happen.
No, I mean, and why would you be wrong in thinking that when we now know virtually definitively that COVID was the result of gain of function research in a lab in Wuhan, China? It's just...
You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a conspiracy theorist. How dare you?
Drew, do you remember? I mean, this is when I was having fights with people who are now no longer friends and good riddance to bad rubbish. When they were saying, trust the science. You don't know anything, Viva. You're just a lawyer. Shut your mouth and stay in your lane.
Hang on a second. Hang on. Adam Carolla is calling me on my phone here during this thing. So hold on.
Wait.
Adam, what's happening? Are you having Zoom link isn't working, Caleb? You know that?
It works.
Apparently it's working.
I'm gonna text him I'm gonna text him a call-in link. Also, hello to the
He's
people
gonna text you a
listening on the
call-in
podcast.
link. They're gonna text you a call-in link so you can just call right in, okay?
I don't have a phone.
That's fine, but they have a call-in link that'll put you up on the air. Okay? I don't know. We're gonna ask when you get in here. Okay, bye.
Drew,
He
here's
wants to know why you didn't. Go ahead, Viva.
Someone's going to mash together a meme of some of Adam Carolla's older stuff as the overlay audio in the section when you weren't talking, and make a conversation that you never actually had, but a humorous one. It's going to happen. What you just did is like it's the equivalent of leaving a blank page on a picture that everyone can fill in whatever they want on the paper.
Well, thanks for challenging him to do exactly that. So we'll get it. Don't worry. But I don't know if you saw Fauci today. He was it was yesterday. It was today talking about the president's situation, and he is just so compromised, and he's compromised in a way that these middle-level bureaucrats all are. Like, they all think they know better than everybody. Leave us alone to run the country. They have no respect for elected officials. And I heard this from Paul Alexander, who said he was invited to a State Department party where he was told by all the middle-level management there, these guys are only here for 4 years. Don't worry about them. We run the United States. That is a disrespect for the Constitution. It's a disrespect for the elected officials. And more importantly, it's a complete and categorical disrespect of the will of the people. And that's what I see happening. That's the thing that's most concerning to me of all right now.
Well, Drew, it's also literally the definition of the deep state or the administrative state. They will be there before and after the elected officials come and go. And that is all that was ever intended by the deep state. These are the people who, they're career politicians, they're career, unelected officials, and they control things and they know it. And they're power-hungry tyrants. Fauci, my understanding of his performance during the AIDS epidemic comes from RFK Jr.'s book, so I don't share the perspective that you have on that. But I appreciate that. That's my understanding.
And well, you should know that one of the things that RFK and I've gotten into it about is exactly this. The one thing you have to know is that I was there when we opened the AZT boxes, and until that day, only thing I could tell hundreds of young men was they had 6 months to live, as they would sit in front of me with their first episode of pneumocystis pneumonia. You have 6 months to live. That's it. Period. I'm sorry. Nothing we can do. When we could start using AZT, I could say, maybe this will push it back to 9 months, and in that 9-month window, hopefully we can come up with more antivirals, which we did. So the 9 months became 18 months, and 18 months became 36 months, and 36 became, now we can treat this as a chronic illness and keep this damn thing suppressed. But it started with this AZT, which is not a good drug. It was just something to give them something for people that had, people cannot get through their head. COVID had a 1% fatality rate. AIDS was 100% fatality rate. It was a totally different thing.
It definitely, that's it. And 1% I think is the overestimate by a long shot anyhow. And it is funny. It's Alex Jones said it. They use the same tactics over and over again. And whether or not AIDS was different in terms of death rate, they certainly seem to have been using some of the same tactics they tried to use now for full medical
100%.
control.
100%.
And they're going to try.
I was guilty of it. I was guilty of it. I used fear during AIDS. We congratulated ourselves. Fauci kept saying there's going to be 2 million dead, and you got to tell them if they have sex with one person, they're actually having sex with every person that person ever had sex with. This was the rallying cry. And we were scaring the crap out of high school kids and college kids. And we patted ourselves on the back when we had 200,000 dead as opposed to 2 million. And, while we got, much like with the vaccine, while we got antivirals in place, same exact playbook.
You remember that ad, Drew? I mean, you're older than me, but we might remember that same ad. If you have sex with someone, you're not just having sex with them. You're having sex with everyone they've ever had sex with. I was in my 8 years to 10 years old at the time. I've remembered that ad ever since. It led to a life of monogamy and low body count, as they say. So it might have done good. But no, I grew up thinking you could get it from sitting on a toilet seat, and I still have that.
No. See, and we were fighting that, and there was so much craziness. So Caleb, how are we doing with Adam? Is he just giving up, which is what he tends to do if things don't work the way he wants it to?
We're trying three other different ways.
I just plugged your phone in, Drew. Can you plug your phone into that dongle and call him back?
Just gonna throw this. Yes. Gonna throw this out there as the remote producer. Okay. But Drew, sometimes your phone announces people's phone numbers when they call, so just make sure it doesn't do that when Adam calls. Okay. Because I can't mute you from here.
Why don't I just call him?
I'll mute him. Just call him back.
Okay, hold on. There's no phone number announced. It's good. You should be on the air there.
Yeah.
There we go.
I had to find the plug, but I found.
All right. You're on the air. We got you.
You got to let me do this when this happens.
So we've been having a lot. Yeah.
So we can't hear Adam.
All right, take your time. You
can't
don't
hear
worry
him.
About it.
You can't hear him, Caleb.
No, we can't.
You couldn't hear him.
No, I think you got to put the phone to the mic.
No, we hear him here. We hear him. Our whole system has.
Yeah. You can hold it to that mic if that's better.
Why wouldn't he be on here? This is exactly how we do it.
Grab that mic over there, right next to you.
I'll just do it on this mic. That's all right.
Okay.
Make sure.
I don't know why it isn't going through. I could hear it.
No, you won't. It's just his name.
Caleb, you can't get the feed from the road.
Are you there?
With the phone? He has to hang up with his sister.
Oh, what the hell? What the hell?
There we go. Just plug it
assistant.
in. Just plug it in, Drew, and it should work now. Yeah. I think I fixed it.
Sorry, those of you that are watching our stream here. This is interesting.
Call him back. Yeah, this is how it works with him.
Yeah, this is how we do it.
I've done a few interviews just holding the phone straight to the mic so that people can hear.
Yeah, me too. I've done that too. Let me see if I can get.
I love how he jumps on the phone with his sister while he's supposed to be
assistant.
Not
his sister, his assistant.
Oh, his assistant. Oh.
Yeah. Let's see.
Now he's driving around Malibu, which probably has horrible service. So.
Could be.
Oh, we've got a whole bunch of people on Twitter ready to hear from Adam.
Okay.
10,000 people over there.
DD Tudor, he's coming on now. If I can get him to pick up his phone. Why aren't we hearing
what I did like about Adam Carolla's method with Gavin Newsom, it's very much the Socratic method. He just keeps asking questions, and then Gavin Newsom eventually digs himself into a very deep political hole.
He just caves.
Try again, honey.
I'm trying.
Is your phone on the Wi-Fi in here?
Yeah. Calling mobile. I think he's not going to pick up, is what I think.
14,000 people over there waiting.
Well, sorry. I know you all want to hear Adam.
I've never had this many people watching on X at the same time.
Well, we appreciate you out there in Twitterverse. So, what was the other thing I wanted to talk
Just text him, tell him to call you back.
Yeah.
There we heard it.
See, we heard your phone, so if you just get him on, then we'll hear him.
This is not going to work, guys. I know it's not going to work. So frustrating. My apologies to everybody listening.
Did you know we have closed caption on YouTube? I'm just noticing that.
That's good. And
who's in that picture?
Me and Drew.
Believe it or not, that is us. From,
before we were married.
35 years ago.
Can you flip that back up for 5 more seconds?
Why? To torture us?
Oh my God. Susan, it's not so much you, it's Drew. Now I see it. Holy cows.
30 really years old.
Holy cow.
Phil Donahue look there.
I just can't get reception here. Oh, here we go. I got it. This is going to cut out. I just know it. And he's going to be
Adam's phone.
Yeah, he's not going to pick up.
What the hell?
Well, what do you mean, what the hell? This is how he is.
So I'm not even slightly surprised.
He couldn't get Zoom to work, so he decided to just leave the house and like.
I'll remind you, I got up to here he is calling me.
Okay, answer.
All right, do we have you?
Make sure he knows he's live.
Well, you do, but I might be able to call that Zoom thing.
No,
that's okay. We're
live.
good.
You're live. We got you on the air. We're all good.
Can you hear him, Caleb?
And do you hear us on your end, Viva?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want more volume?
Viva, do you hear?
I hear Adam.
Okay, good. So I've got Viva Frei in here too, Adam, and we were just Viva looked at your interview in 2013 with Newsom when he said that what is it? What was his bumper sticker that he loves so much? You're not in traffic, you are traffic. That particular interview. Yeah, he missed that part though. He did see you going. He also missed the part that's not going around Twitter right now is the part where he talked about the check cashing facilities. Can you just review that with us? Make sure I got it correct.
He didn't like. Well, hi, Viva. What's Viva's title?
Viva Frei attorney. He's an attorney.
Well, my real name is David Freiheit.
David Freiheit's his real name. He's got a podcast with Viva Barnes Law, and Viva's actually Canadian, but he lives in Florida. He's a what would you call yourself? You're fleeing the excesses of the Canadian. Yeah, refugee. There you go.
An aspiring Floridian.
All right, so he wanted to put an end to predatory check cashing places. Mm-hmm. That was Gavin Newsom's mission statement from 2013. I don't think he's gotten much done, but he also explained that homelessness was his number one issue in 2013 as well. So it's not been wildly effective. But our famous argument started is when he was explaining that the predatory check cashing places preyed on Black and Hispanics. And then I started asking questions, and he started explaining that they don't have access to a checking account, which is, by the way, the bastardization of language, no access. It's like saying, when they go, these people in the inner city, they don't have access to healthy food. They have access to eggs and apples in celery, they do have access to it. They choose not to ingest it, but they have access to it. They have access to checking accounts and oatmeal and all the good things in life. They just don't do it.
Yeah, it's like when what was it, that Hobby Lobby place didn't pay for birth control pills as part of their government company policy, and that became preventing access of women to health care.
That was denying access.
Denying access, another language thing, denying access.
Yes, you know what I used to say? I go, listen, I do not provide lunch for my employees, but I do not deny them access to get lunch.
Right.
That they want to go buy themselves lunch, they can buy lunch. It's the same as the Hobby Lobby thing. If you want to be on birth control, you can be on birth control. They don't pay for it. That's all. Denied access. It's crazy what these pussies have turned into. It's so weird and sad and weak.
Yeah,
but Adam,
go ahead, Viva.
It's the most. I've always said it's the most fundamentally racist thing to say. Like, you're saying these predatory practices only impact two demographics, and it seems to be only two demographics that they pick on. And when it comes to voting, and they say voter IDs is racist because somehow they think that Black Americans can't get voter IDs, and yet somehow ID requirements to buy alcohol is not racist, or do they have to admit that they're racist when it comes to that? But they don't care as much to allow Black people to buy alcohol without ID because they don't gain politically from that. Now it seems that Adam Carolla, Adam's gone into it.
I don't hear Viva.
Oh, you didn't hear him. He said it's something you've said too, is that one of the most racist policies is saying that African Americans can't get access to IDs, for instance, but they seem to get access to IDs to buy alcohol, but they don't care about that.
Yeah, I know. Like, they're all, obviously, these are all racist thoughts because they're treating Black people like they're kids or animals or something. It's the most pathetic, saddest, most kind of insidious version of racism, is really just thinking the person's not up to whatever the challenge of life is, as if you could live in modern society without an ID. But I would argue, look, we don't let felons in prison vote, right? I mean, you can lose your right to vote. If you do not possess an ID, then you should be not allowed to vote because you do not participate in society. What can you do in modern society without an ID? And the answer is nothing. So you do not participate in society, and so you shouldn't. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It'll work itself out. If you do not physically have an ID and you do not want to obtain an ID, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
And Adam, Viva is up in Canada right now. I wonder if you have any questions about the great Canadian government and how the Canadians up there are feeling about it presently.
Well, I've been saying for a while, Canada's about 5 years ahead of California in terms of circling the fucking toilet drain. And if you really think about it, Justin Trudeau is just like, in a way, he's a pure version of Gavin Newsom. You know, he's kind of a bouillon cube of Gavin Newsom. He's a little more Gavin Newsom than Gavin Newsom even is. So good fucking luck, Canada. And I assume they're going to try to get that guy out of there and get back to some semblance of normality. But I have no idea what Canada's doing. I have no idea why. And look, but I say the same thing about California. I don't know what the people are doing here. I don't know what happened to them. But if they vote for asswipes like Trudeau or Newsom, then they just deserve what they get at a certain point.
Eva, any comment on that?
Well, I'll say one thing.
I may have to repeat the question, but go ahead and ask it. Go ahead.
Yeah, because Adam might not hear it. But up in Canada,
Yeah.
we have to show 2 pieces of ID, and we write, we vote with a ballot with a pencil, and so very racist. But the the racism is it's soft bigotry of low expectations. When they wanted to ban menthol cigarettes, it was to protect Black Americans because Black Americans like to smoke menthol cigarettes. But Trudeau's come up and is coming up. Like he won't be in power if he's even the leader of the party within a year. But he's done a great job at really tanking Canada in his 8 years of terror, 9 years of terror now.
So, Adam, could you hear what he said?
I cannot hear a word Viva says.
So I will tell you, he commented on the 8 years of terror that Trudeau has brought upon the Canadians, that he will not be in power within the year, and that he wanted to point out the Canadian government is exquisitely racist because they require 2 forms of ID and they fill out their ballots with a pencil. And then he was also pointing out that the check cashing stuff and the no ID is really the most what word used, Viva? Condescending racism or
soft bigotry of low expectations.
Soft bigotry. It's not even soft. Soft bigotry of low expectation. It says is
Drew,
bigotry. It's severe
bigotry.
bigotry.
Ask Adam a question for me.
Yeah.
Has Adam left California?
Hold on a second, Adam. He's going to leave. He has not left yet. Why?
No, because I say that at the end of the day, people have to vote with their feet and vote with their dollar. I mean, it's right. You get what you vote for, but the problem is sometimes so do other people. And I didn't vote for Trudeau, and I don't deserve that, and I'm not going to live with that.
Okay, everybody keep an eye on France. I'm telling you, Le Pen got 46% of the vote. And what's happening over there is the left is freaking out, saying it's the end of the world. Exact same stuff that's said about Trump is being said about Le Pen and the end of democracy, barbarians at the gate. And the press is totally different in France. They're going, but barbarians at the gate, we know what that is. The Germans came on in. What are you talking about? And then no democracy. They're like 46% of French people voted. They expressed the will of the people. They want this woman and they want her party. What do you mean no democracy? It's so odd to watch their press behave like that compared to what goes on here. Adam?
Well, they do. Well, remember when what's his name in Hungary got voted in, and we had to do the whole far right extremist, MAGA sensitive, whatever, because he wants a border, he wants Hungarians, and he doesn't want a bunch of Muslims taking over Budapest. It's interesting how the press can be sort of universal. I mean, theirs has woken up, but the press sort of drifted left, became left, and just sort of anybody. It's kind of interesting how our press reports anybody in any other country that does anything contrary to what they would do is just far right extremist. It's kind of telling.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Well, I mean, it's telling, but it's again this distortion of language is what you started out with, denying access, no access to this, no access to that. They're taking language and using it as a cudgel, and it's having an effect. Viva, Adam's mom was very much like your Canadian compatriots. She definitely had the same kind of feel and look as so many Canadians I saw, particularly in Victoria, British Columbia. And so Adam was reared on this BS early and often. Adam, you want to educate Viva on what you witnessed growing up?
Just people that hated this country, but also kind of hated themselves simultaneously, and realized that they couldn't compete in a meritocracy, so they wanted to kind of tear down the system that they failed in. If they had an ounce of success and a work ethic and some ability, they wouldn't feel this way. They wanted chaos because they were failing students who couldn't excel, and wanted the system to go away because they languished in the system because they were narcissists who wouldn't put the effort in. So they blamed the system instead of looking in the mirror.
Tell the story about the champagne. That's the one that I thought was most telling about what really is going on in her head.
Well, now keep in mind, while they're blaming the system, they're constantly talking about the poor people They're basically virtue signaling. It's a lot more of it is race based now, but back then it was just the poor people, and not having enough, and people aren't doing enough. There was lots of talk about what the government needed to do for the poor people, and sort of by implication they were the good ones because they cared and they spoke about the people all the time. But they're really cheap and they're selfish and wanted free stuff. My mom loved champagne, but would go to Trader Joe's and buy a $3 bottle of champagne. She would never buy herself a bottle of Dom Perignon or good champagne. But once in a while, I would bring over a good bottle of champagne. And on Mother's Day, many years ago, I did go and bring a good bottle of champagne to her. And the only people who were there for Mother's Day was my mother, my sister, her mother, and my mother's husband, and myself. And at some point, my mother did what she always does. She said, Adam, do you think we could have some of your delicious Dom Perignon champagne? And I said, well, don't ask me because that's your gift. And that's your Mother's Day gift. So if you'd like to have some, by all means, open it up. And she took the bottle and she hid it under a sweater. Now, she wanted champagne, and the only people there were her kids and her mom and her husband. But the point is she wanted champagne, but she wanted someone else's champagne. And even though the champagne was free to her, it was now hers. And now she was going to have to share her champagne.
That wasn't
from other people.
And that wasn't going to happen.
That wasn't going to happen. But she did talk a lot about people that didn't have stuff and people needed. Look, when the Obamas talk about giving more and when you have enough money and you need enough stuff, what house are they on? 6th mansion, 7th mansion? How many Netflix $100 million deals do they need to sew up? What are they talking about?
When is it enough? Right. Yeah, it's weird to me.
Listen, I'm all for everyone making as much as they want. Just spare us the fucking lecture. That's all. My mom could do whatever she wanted with her bottle of champagne, but spare me the lecture about giving back and generosity and, blah, 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 blah. And I feel the same way about the Obamas and the Bidens and all of them. Just shut up. You guys do nothing but buy multi-million-dollar houses. So stop all the discussions about when you're going to have enough, or you didn't build that business yourself, or whatever it is you're saying this week.
What's that, Viva?
I was going to say, first of all, they buy multi-million-dollar mansions on lowlands that are susceptible to flooding despite climate change. But does Adam still talk with his mom? I'm noticing some tension there.
She's passed away, but he's asking if you there's Adam if he'll have to be invited back to do an hour on his mom because I have been working with Adam since 1996 and most days his mom comes up. So she's an example of a lot of things for us, and she reminds me very vividly of the Victorian British Columbians. I recognize that quality right away, which is that underlying seething selfishness and aggression and things, but all the rhetoric on the surface is about getting along and giving.
Well, it's the virtue for the self-aggrandizing, where they say like, yes, I support trans rights in kids, but not my kid.
Yes, and virtue for self-aggrandizement, he says.
It's
I'm telling you.
And also just tell Adam like
it does. Yes. Just
no, and
talk about giving back and it's basically it's Ellen dancing at the beginning of her show. You know what I mean? She's a mean, angry woman whose staff is scared shitless of her. You know what I'm saying? But she's dancing because nice people would dance, right?
Right.
So that's how it works.
All right, Adam, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you spending a little time with us. And Viva, any last questions before I send him off?
No, I love the comment that said Adam is now wondering if I actually exist or you're actually just talking with yourself, Drew.
Oh,
I will
some
meet
people are
Adam one
wondering
day.
All right. Viva looks forward to meeting you, Adam. We'll talk soon.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Take care. Adam Cole, you can check him out on ACS.
I
Adam
don't know
Carolla
why
Show.
we couldn't get Viva's sound to Adam. That was weird.
That is weird.
Oh, but you know,
you know why?
it's
Because he
even
was
funnier this way.
because he was only on the phone. Because he could hear me talking on the phone.
He's going through the phone.
Yeah, I
Wait,
betcha.
but your mic's going through the phone.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's
whatever. It's fine.
inner workings of
At least
the
we
No,
got it. Viva.
I'll talk with
ahead.
Adam one day. But what I wanted to highlight, about the name calling and the demonizing, and like in France,
Yes.
everybody who votes for Le Pen is far right. Everyone who votes for Christine Anderson, they're far right. The word Nazi has a bad history. The word nationalistic is not inherently wrong, and I would say being a globalist is inherently wrong, and not respecting your own nation, your own nation's history, and your own nation's borders is inherently wrong. But they do the same trick over and over again by controlling language, by discrediting people and not ideas. And the ultimate irony, it's the kick in the teeth in Canada. The dude that's calling me racist is the one who dressed in blackface more times than he can count. The dude calling me a misogynist is the one who allegedly groped a reporter back in the year 2000, fired his first Native American female, Justin Trudeau, who fired Jody Wilson-Raybould, the first woman minister of justice. The guy calling me the anti-Semite is talking about immigration policies that are going to have a nefarious impact on minority communities in Canada. They are everything that they accuse others of, but they control language, and more importantly, they control the media, which is exactly how they astroturf and brainwash an entire population into thinking, the truckers were the racist ones, not Justin Trudeau himself.
Yeah. When I was listening to a psychoanalyst that was talking about narcissist, and I've repeated this over and over again. He said, whenever you hear a narcissist saying you are, you should hear immediately, I am. He's saying I am, not you are. It's a projection. All these projections.
Absolutely.
And again, the gaslighting and the game. You're gaslighting me. Yeah, I know, and there are actually people calling for that now. I've seen two. I saw an academic and another representative saying Obama. The only chance now is if they kill certain people. They want to kill the Supreme Court justices. They want to kill Trump. I mean, they're saying this out loud. That the people are listen. I hope they keep a record of people that are saying this. Not only is it seeming to me illegal to do it, but that's not my point to say, but it should be a profound embarrassment that this record is out there. You're saying it publicly. It is wild.
Drew, this is a sign of the times. This is one of my revelations or thoughts the other day. It's like, all right, I follow Twitter a lot, and there's people issuing what are overt threats. And then people are like, I'm going to tag the FBI and say, hey, FBI, look at them. And I live in a world where I say, like, you're tagging the FBI. The FBI is not going to go arrest those people. The FBI is going to go recruit those people to carry out other acts that would otherwise, justify the FBI saying, now we need more FBI agents because these radical people are carrying out acts of violence. Like, that's how cynical I've gotten, but it's reality.
Yeah.
And they're calling for the assassination. Oh, but I'm just illustrating the absurdities of the argument. No, you're not. And what you are doing is dog whistling and giving the political permission slip to the types of people who show up to a Republican baseball game and shoot up the field because they've been brainwashed into thinking this is an existential threat against the bodies of their wives and daughters. I mean, it is brainwashing in real time, and I think it is part of a psychological operation. I don't think there's much doubt about that. But look, we need to have a political revolution.
So your position is the reason things have gotten so crazy is because of intelligence ops using this new technology of social media and the internet. Is that summarize what you're saying?
Well, at the risk of sounding crazy, history doesn't repeat, but it tends to rhyme. And once you understand what the government has done in terms of mind control, thought control, MK Ultra operations, Operation Mockingbird, it's like, it sounds crazy. I mean, maybe it doesn't sound crazy to you, but it'll sound crazy to other people. Like, oh yeah, the intelligence is weaponizing social media to recruit people to carry out acts of violence. When you find out every mass shooter or every terrorist that was on the FBI's watch list and somehow they slipped through, and when you find out how intelligence has recruited and played with people's minds in order to get them to carry out acts of violence, so they can then say, look, we need more resources. Once you know what the FBI, the CIA, and intelligence has done, you can see it happening, and it's like it's plain in your face. The media brainwashing when it comes to COVID was an operation. And we now know in Canada, like disclosed papers, the government saw the pandemic as a great opportunity for the military to test propaganda on Canadians. It was an operation. The death count chyrons were not by accident. It was an operation to manipulate the public into full compliance and full submission. And so, I look at some of these accounts on Twitter, and I'm like, these are Fed boy accounts, and I may or may not ever get proven right, but I know what I believe.
Viva, let's leave it there. I think you've dropped some bombs for people to think about and chew on. You said when you leave us, you're going to be doing what now? Are you going to do another thread on something?
I'm going to go into my car. I'm going to shoot a vlog in the car. Maybe go live with our locals community. I have a moment of solitude because my wife has the kids. I've got nothing but a dog upstairs. Who's probably crapped all over the house. But no, I'm going to go do a quick vlog dissecting the what's happening in New York, because people are feigning outrage. Oh my goodness, Trump is so lucky he's not going to get sentenced. It's only lucky if you don't understand what's going on. Once you understand what's going on, you could have predicted this about 6 months ago, as we did. So that's what I'm going to go do, and then I'm going to go grill a steak because I'm hungry.
All right, my friend. Talk to you soon. Viva Frei, everybody.
Dr. Drew, thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. As I've told you where you can get him, it is vivafrei.com. It's at Viva Frei on Twitter. And Viva Barnes Law is where you can get the podcast they do. So coming up, we're going to have a happy 4th for everybody. So happy birth date for the country, or at least for the Declaration of Independence, which according to Abraham Lincoln is when the country was born, which was the notion that all men are created equal. Even though we've had difficulty living up to that, we are still founded on that principle. And then next week, you see, I can't quite see it because I had to move my camera. I can't print it. I'll find it here. Caleb, you want to repeat the names for me since I can't quite see it?
July 9th, we have 5 times August. Oh, you see it now. There you go.
Yep, I see it now. And my friend Howard, who was vaccine injured, we're getting an update from him on how he's been going. He had a severe vaccine injury instantly after taking the vaccine. Dave Rubin in studio on July 10th. And then we have an early show on the 11th with Michael Fairclough, I think is his name, and he is a teacher and actually a school administrator who had some interesting ideas about educating kids. And you see the rest. Dave Smith coming in on July 23rd. So, and Dr. Kelly is going to make a few appearances here coming up. Dave Smith on July 23rd. Yeah, it's going to be great. I don't think he's coming in. I think he's doing it by Zoom. But again, we appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Please do. We carefully support the people that support us. We use all these products. We are enthusiastic about them. And we appreciate you supporting them so we can keep doing this thing. It's been a lot of fun. Susan, anything before I wrap it up?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
just know we appreciate you. We appreciate you being here.
I'm good.
And if, again, suggestions, concerns, contact at drdrew.com. We are creating this for you. So we are delighted.
Unless you want to talk about my psychic medium show on Thursday, July 11th with Rebecca Fearing.
What's that, Caleb?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to show currently right now, I wanted to shout out to all the people watching on Rumble, because at the moment we are the #1 podcast streaming on Rumble at the moment. It says at the top there.
Fantastic.
Yay!
Thanks for watching.
And 15,000 people over on X. So we're very grateful to all our X followers. We're out of X jail, so the algorithm is pushing us out there.
Yeah, and Rumble's been a great organization to work with. So pay attention, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy yourselves, and have a great 4th.
Ta-ta.
Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.